join us this evening. So we'll wait a minute or so, see if he comes on, because it was my desire or suggestion that maybe we reverse work session items 1 and 2. We can discuss with him and let him go on to other things once we get done talking to him about the contract.
Hey.
Well, it is 5:33 p.m., so we'll, I'm assuming he'll access us and join in a few minutes. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started. This is September the 10th, 2020. It is 5:33 p.m. This is the work session for the Trinidad Urban Renewal Authority. So item number 1, we're going to proceed on with it as is until anything else goes. We're going to talk the facade program.
Sorry to interrupt. I think Mr. Scholl has arrived. He's muted.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, Mike. Okay.
Sorry, I was getting up to speed with the Go meeting, so, or Go to.
No problem. Okay. Well, that being the case, then, I would like to suggest possibly, and if it's everybody's agreement, that instead of doing item number 1 as a facade program, we speak with Mike regarding the RFP and maybe any information he would like to give us beyond that which he already provided. He and I had a discussion and we exchanged information here in the past couple of weeks, and they were able to, Ayers and Associates was able to provide us with a, well, first I got to ask, is it okay that we move items 1 and 2?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, at our last meeting last month, after we addressed this subject many times, had several interruptions as a or meetings as a result of COVID-19 and other things, it was decided last month that we would seek outside assistance, some consultation services, so that we could take this thing forward and do it according to what everything is.
This conference will now be recorded.
So that being said, one of those things that came to mind to me was Ayers and Associates. If you all recall that Ayers and Associates, we engaged their services a couple of years ago to develop our strategic plan. So I contacted Matt Ashby, and he said they were able to do it, and at that point transferred it over to Mike Scholl. So I'm pronouncing it right, correctly,
Yeah.
Mike?
Yeah, it's correct.
Yeah, so he transferred me over there because Mike has extensive background in urban renewal matters. And so with that said, he did prepare a contract for us and is able and willing to be able to assist us in creating an RFP that we can take that parcel of land to the next steps so that we can get this matter behind us. With that said, and again, there was a letter sent with a contract for our consideration, and gives the scope of services with the fees, with an estimate of what the top end might be. So, Mike, is there anything that you would like to add to this? Questions that anybody would like to direct to you after you, if there's anything? I think the letter and the contract are pretty self-explanatory and right to the point. You knowing what it is we need, but if there's anything you'd like to add beyond that, you're free to do so at this point.
Sure. Do you want me to, maybe Ed, it would be helpful if I just gave you a quick summary of my professional background too, to help?
That would be great.
So I've been with Ayers in their Fort Collins office for just almost a year. Prior to that, I worked for 11 years for the city of Loveland up here doing redevelopment work in downtown redevelopment work to the tune of about $155 million worth of redevelopment using the Urban Renewal Authority, is redevelopment entities like the Urban Renewal Authority, Downtown Development Authority, among other tools. I've put together numerous RFPs successfully, that have led to development. And I've helped out some other, in the time I've been with AIRS, I've worked with some other communities, helping them, put together kind of similar proposals and try to help them kind of guide, provide some guidance to kind of help you get to where you want to be in terms of the development, and some also, potential negotiation strategies and things like that to help, ensure that the interests of the Urban Renewal Authority are met. I apologize, I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but doing the RFP is really the first step, and kind of meeting those requirements of state statute, for the disposition of property is really important. To make sure that you have a clear, the land is clear, so when you work with a developer, there's no issues. But then once you start to work with a developer, I think, that's where Ed and I had a long conversation about that. The preliminary proposal is just help you get that first step, get that taken care of, get it out on the street, and then have a way to, open, transparent way to review and for the board to kind of consider any proposals and make a decision about how you want to go forward. So that's kind of that's what I was kind of intending. But I don't know, Ed, if there's something more you wanted to add, or if I'm not being clear.
No, I think our conversations, I think, were pretty fruitful. The information you provided as well. So I think, I provided you with all the information regarding the land, the policy adopted as far as what we want to see happen with that parcel of land in conjunction with the development of that area. So, in keeping with that, I think, it's my thought that you have a good idea of what it is that we're after, and how we want to get the RFP out there, ultimately go out and get it advertised so that we can get some prospects in, so we can get this out to a developer and get something happening for the city of Trinidad, for the greater good of the city of Trinidad.
Sure.
Does anybody want to direct any questions? Do you have any questions or comments that you would like to direct to Mike?
No, I don't.
Commissioner Villani?
No, I don't.
No, I'm fine too.
Okay. That being said, then I think if we're seeing like we're in agreement for it, it is going to be it is an agenda item on our regular meeting this evening, so that we can take it for acceptance, so that we can take the next step and contract with theirs and associates to get that RFP completed first. We can have a document and go forward with the next steps.
Cool.
Ed, excuse me, I'm in on the meeting too.
David.
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Barak. Hey, Commissioner Barak, did you get to hear all that? Is there anything you want to add?
Nope, everything's fine.
Okay. All right. Well, then that's it. I guess there are no questions. There's going to be an action item on the regular agenda this evening. So, anybody has anything else, now's the time. Otherwise, we will go forward with this into the regular meeting.
Cool. Do you need me to stay on for that, or are you okay if I jump off? And
I think you're okay. I needed you now in work session, so that if there were questions that were needed as far as the engagement or the scope of work, but I think it's pretty explanatory in the contract. You know what we need, and we think we understand what it is you're going to provide. So I think it's just a matter. We'll take it to our regular meeting so that we can have a formal approval of entry into an agreement, and then I and you will be making contact right out subsequent to this meeting.
Perfect.
Thank you, Mark.
Cool. All right. Thanks,
I
everyone.
appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to then now. With that, and again, this will be an agenda. It is on an agenda item on our new business this evening, so that will be under consideration for the adoption or for the acceptance of entering contract and authorizing me to be able to execute that contract with Ayers and Associates. Okay, going back to item number 1, the facade program. Again, last time we met, we agreed that changes needed to be made and changes would be considered. So that being the decision, Commissioners Villani and Commissioner Bolton both did some discussion and did some amendments to it. There's some revisions that were sent, and so with that being said, since you all are most familiar with what you talked about, what you provided in the draft, I will turn it over to either Commissioner Bolton or Commissioner Villani, whoever wants to take this one forward.
This is Carol handle that. I've kind of got a little bit of a cough. I'll chime in. So Carol, take it.
That's a real easy way to get out of it.
Well, when I start coughing, and you'll understand. But I will chime in. I have we came up with some things.
All right, we got you on your honor. Okay, Commissioner Bolton.
Okay, I took it upon myself to work from our current proposal and work with documents from the city of Windsor and work with the notes that I had taken from the last meeting and tried to put together something which ended up being the first revision that everyone got earlier in the week. And then Fran and I met and went over that and found several things that we needed clarification on and things that needed to be corrected. And so we have some recommendations. They are set forth in the second revision that I think everyone probably got yesterday. And if you're looking at it, the things that I took out of the city of Windsor are in italics, and things that have been added since Fran and I met are in bold, separated by asterisks at each end. She and I took it upon ourselves to determine that this would be only for commercial buildings, no residential. Hope everyone is in agreement with that, and if not, just let us know. We talked about extending the boundaries, and she and I recommend that we extend the boundary by 6 blocks in each direction of, and then this I didn't make clear on the second revision, of the core zone, the historic district.
Okay. Yeah, that would have been a question or a comment of mine, is that as we define it, we're going to have the core zone plus 6 blocks if that's what we decide to extend it by, because if we use the boundaries, that actually the plan we adopted, the urban renewal plan, the boundaries are actually the corporate limits of the city of Trinidad. So we have to probably we'll redefine that as a core zone, the core zone to Trinidad, and with the extension of those numbers. And to me, 6 blocks is a good 6 blocks in any direction is a good number, because we want to take it to where it goes beyond, but yet not make it infinity toward the city limits.
So that was our suggestion. Now, would you like me to go through all of this change by change, or do you want me to address questions?
No, why don't you go ahead and let you explain what you did, because you did a lot of work on it, and rather than skimming through it, you take us where you think we need to go.
Okay, under purpose, I added proposals are considered on a case-by-case basis and evaluated based on the ability of the project to further the goals of TURA. And we need to define what the goals of TURA are. Funding is at the discretion of the TURA Commission. Funding may only be used on eligible facades that front a public right-of-way, such as a street or alleyway, or open space, and we need to discuss and define alleyways and open spaces, typically to create facade features that would be unfeasible without TURA funding, and for which TURA is able to secure an interest therein.
May I chime in here a minute?
Yes.
This is first purpose. I think when we were working, we had a real concern about the two alleyway and open spaces. And initially, in this one revision, we eliminated open spaces. And thought it, and also to ask about alleyways as far as how the commission looks upon those two items. Right? Isn't that correct, Cheryl?
Hello? Yes. I just took a drink of water. Yes, you're correct.
Okay,
So, I think that I would like to hear some discussion about those two items, alleyways and open spaces. Do we want to include those?
okay. I guess I'll chime in first on this. One, can we define the goals of TURA? And yes, we can, because we have a plan that we adopted. So what we're trying to do, and the number one thing in there, if you're going to do it, and if you want to consider a facade that needs to be upgraded, the elimination of blight. So you don't want to. It's not a word that can be used all the time, but I mean we do have. And it's actually going to be listed in our strategic plan. We have goals, so we can make this fit the goals of TURA. I mean, this whole thing with the facade renovations or improvements is going to falls within the overall plan of TURA to make the city look better. So I think we can make that fit. The alleyways, the way I read it, and you look, we've got some examples that you can actually say that this could work on. Look, a situation like with Alley A on Main Street, which is the alleyway between the Bell Block and the Opera House building, or north of that, the alleyway between Bella Luna and the Columbian Hotel. So both of those have, you're looking at walls that are visible to everybody. So, in an instance like, and that's a for instance only, or an example, if something needed to be done in those areas like that, I think an alleyway needs to be part of that, because an alleyway, as it's visible to anybody, would be, improvement would be something that would be fitting the plan.
Ed, can I ask?
Well,
sure.
What are we considering open spaces?
That's what I was going to get to myself. Is I don't know. I can't. I don't know how we would do it. So if we can't define it, shall we scrap it?
I think we should eliminate. I think we should eliminate open spaces. That's my recommendation.
Yeah, because I don't know how to define it or how it's applicable.
Right.
And then if it's left for interpretation, somebody coming and applying and we can't clearly define it, it creates a problem. So without being able to give it some definition or applicability, I would just say we would not include that.
I will strike that.
I also think we need to become more specific about alleyways, because there are alleyways and there are alleyways. And I think for TURA to eliminate any kind of dispute, we should be focus on a definition of what TURA would consider an alleyway. And I think that Chairman Griego, you have hit upon it, correct? The words that probably would fit that definition, but we need to define it within the document so that people understand very clearly that the alleyway is is something that is extremely visible and to the public. And I don't know, we need to work on a definition of that, because I think we could get into muddy waters there.
Yeah, you're right. So I guess we've got to create an applicability for it and a definition, so we know that it's, there. Yeah, again, like you said, there are alleys and there are alleys, and we want to make sure that it's one that is frequented by either foot traffic or pedestrian traffic that makes it warranted to be something that money would be dedicated to. One of the things where you bring consideration, and this is just put it out there, but say you have an alleyway that it doesn't fit what the definition we might put on it. Well, what if the side of a building in an alleyway is requires or would need upgrading, and that would be the only reason that a lot of people don't use it, is because the cosmetic features are not conducive to people wanting to go in the area. Well,
I think we can't address every issue, but is an alleyway really a facade? And maybe it needs structural updating or whatever, but unless it's extremely visible to the public. For instance, Commissioner Barak and I share it's not really an alley, but everybody treats it as an alley. But we could say, well, our building needs some updating. For instance, in my particular building, there are some windows that have wire in them that have been broken, and they're very hard to change. So I could say, and I'm being the devil's advocate here, and saying, well, I have a building and it's got all these windows and they need updating, and people do walk through there. Is that not true, Commissioner Barak?
Yes, they do.
And but it's really not public walkway. So we need to be very careful about that issue that you brought up, I think, Chairman Griego.
Okay.
I have a suggestion for a definition that I'd just like to throw out there. I just kind of put it together from just hearing the conversation. Alleyways which are highly visible to the public eye and frequented by pedestrian traffic.
Well, in addition, that particular space has a gas line that runs through it, and I don't know that it's ever been a deeded access. And there's also power lines that run down it. So even though it is private property, it is used for public. It has public use, not just pedestrian traffic, but utilities. So,
Commissioner Leone, I think you're wanting to say something.
I was gonna say, instead of going to alleyways, why couldn't we word it to something about the side of a building or a visible side of the building? Why alleyways?
Was that contained in the Windsor facade program, Carol?
I believe it was. Let me double check.
It was.
Yes.
It was.
Okay. Because for all intents and purposes, I mean, we don't have to use alleyways. We can, you know, we it's open for discussion and consideration. It's what everybody feels is you know, needs to be. So, you know, or you know, do we want to limit strictly to the visible facade abutting a street and just forget that, or you know, open to suggestion here. This is something that and the creators of this, Commissioners Bolton and Villani, we're reliant on how you feel you want to do it.
Well, from my point of view, I think that I would like to eliminate alleyways and altogether, and then treat it as a on a case by case basis. And I mean, we can always maybe look at it again. You know, I just think we need to be we're extending the boundaries, and we don't know exactly what that's going to produce. And so, for me, I think we can eliminate that and see how it goes. I don't know about you, Commissioner Bolton.
I'm not married to it at all.
Well, since you bring up like that, we're going to be extending. If you extend that, and you just, you know, just imagine some places that you might go to, that could very well be something that shows up with alleyway, and you know, it could be buildings that have it on two sides. Downtown, that isn't going to happen a lot, but there could be, if you start just thinking about some of those buildings 6 blocks out from the boundaries. There are going to be buildings there that are going to have parts of the building fronting alleyways on more than one side. So we're saying we'll maybe take away alleyways and open spaces and leave it defined as a facade.
Right. Yep.
Okay.
And we'll just use eligible facades that front a public right of way.
Yep. Such as a street, and eliminate alleyway.
Okay. Okay.
Hey,
under.
I got one more question.
Sure.
The final wording in that paragraph, TURA is able to secure an interest therein. What are we referring to there?
If we went forward with, say, a cash draw situation, as was suggested last month, then we would need to be able to secure our interest until the process was finished.
Okay.
But it's tied to goals, I think, too, the goals of TURA. You know, and that's, I think.
Well, yeah, we can get that. We can pull that if we need to get something in there that, you know, I don't know that we're included in here, but if we're, you know, somebody's, you know, we can. We have a strategic plan, and we have the actual plan that we adopted that says what the goals of TURA are, what is meant by it, and it follows what is actually set up by urban renewal law, by state statute. So it depends on how definitive we want to be. But yeah, we can define the goals of TURA.
And if we decide not to change our manner of disposition of funds, that may not even be necessary, or may be applicable in a different paragraph.
Okay. Well, we need, you know, it is something, I just didn't know how you guys meant it, but it probably is something, yeah, if there's going to be advanced funding, we need to be able to make sure that it follows through, or how we recover funds that were never used for the purpose they were intended. Okay, I'll let you guys proceed. I'll let you ladies proceed, I'm sorry.
Paragraph, program delineation, I made no changes to. The next sentence, no changes. The next sentence, no changes. Now there's a big one here that I did add, and it came straight from Windsor. TURA does not require historic rehabilitations, but commercial property owners should be aware that facade changes to some buildings may require review/approval by the Trinidad Historic Preservation Commission. All historic buildings that are a local landmark or on a state or national register must receive HPC approval of the proposed facade changes prior to being scheduled for evaluation by TURA. Properties that are currently designated as historic site/building are required to obtain a landmark alteration certificate prior to issuance of a building permit. That's something we've never discussed, but now that we do have a Historic Preservation Commission, it made sense to me that they be consulted.
Yeah, probably anybody doing any, just to make sure that it doesn't come back and become an enemy in the end.
Right. And I wasn't aware, excuse me, of the landmark alteration certificate being required. So that's why I added this paragraph.
Well, it's a good clause to have in there for the actual building owners that are looking to undertake certain projects, because you know, this notwithstanding, I mean, if they're going to do it on their own, it's something that everybody needs to be aware of.
I think so.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
I am too.
Everybody's okay with leading that one?
Yes.
Thank you. Under next section definitions, we will omit alleyways and open spaces, and just in that principal front that looks onto a street. Structural improvement, I made no changes to that, and no changes to number 3, cosmetic improvement. Now, Fran has suggested that we discuss a 2-tier stream of funding, one for cosmetic and one for structural. That might be something we want to push toward the very end of this to discuss.
Okay.
And let's see, number 4, historic building. I think it's supposed to be or facade. Any building or facade within the TURA boundaries, and I will need to upgrade that to show 4 zone and extended by 6 blocks each direction.
Should we eliminate building and just say any facade? Because the building, we're targeting strictly the facade, not any other part of the building. Or do we want to include building?
It was in our prior
Yes.
thing, but it makes sense that you can't have a historic facade if you don't have a building.
Well, of course not. That, but are we dealing with the building or the facade of the building? Because it says any building or facade.
I think it's or, and that is a typo on my part that I didn't catch. Yes, it's in our original, excuse me, in our original policy, it's historic building or facade.
Which they actually come out to be one and the same, so the wording doesn't make. You can make those changes in there if it I mean it means the same. We're just talking about building and the building facade. So if you want to exchange some words or whatever in there, that'll be fine. I think the intent is known.
Or should it just read historic building facade?
Yes, I think that works. The more clarity we can bring to the reader in terms of what we're talking about, I think we'll have less problems. I mean, I just think people need to understand that we're dealing with the facades, the historic facade of the building.
Commissioner Barak, did you want to say something?
Changed my mind.
Okay. So I need to go back one. We'll go back to cosmetic improvement, and it mentions window treatments, awnings, and signage. Are we? Is that something that we're going to allow to be funded? Are we thinking that we're going to participate in funding for window treatments, awnings, and signage?
That came straight from our prior policy.
Okay, yeah, and I know it was in there. I'm just trying to just clarify, is this something that we will, because what that was what it was in the last policy or in the current definitions, I think it says, it's describing, I don't know that it particularly says it would be allowed. And so I'm just looking to see, is that something that we're going to participate in doing? And it made a differentiation between structural and cosmetic, and it listed window treatments, awnings, and signage. And to me, I took it as an exclusionary wording that wouldn't be. So I think we need to clarify: is that something that we will allow to happen by allowing cosmetic improvements? Because the original intent of that facade program was not to allow cosmetics. It was actually to just do stabilization, and so we're opening it up to allow cosmetics. In our cosmetic, what we're going to allow window treatments, awnings, and signage. Is that what I'm assuming?
Well, Chairman Gregory, you certainly raised a very good question, because window treatment is ambiguous in terms of if you say window treatments, is that outside or inside? And does that mean that a person can ask for wood blinds on the inside of the building, or are we just? I mean, it really is very hard to. We need to describe that if we're going to keep it in.
And that's the way I read it. A window treatment as being an interior, and that wouldn't be eligible. Again, the cosmetic improvement, the reference to that in the original adoption of the program and the creation of the program was to differentiate structural from cosmetic, and basically cosmetic was an exclusion. Well, I think we're looking to be able to allow it, but just what do we allow and consider and allow within cosmetic improvements? And And I'm thinking that maybe window treatments goes just one step beyond, because again, if it could happen as long as we have it worded in there. I don't know, awnings and signage could possibly be something, but my opinion is I don't know how far we want to take window treatments.
What about window replacement?
That would probably be better. Oops.
Well, wouldn't that be under structural improvements?
No, not windows.
It could be either or, I think.
That way, if someone did have, some broken or cracked windows, but did not have structural damage. But I guess we need to get past the point of, are we just going to stick to structural, or are we going to consider cosmetic? I know initially cosmetic was supposed to be Main Street, but as we all know, they have no funding.
Yeah, I'd like to see us with cosmetics, and I'm going to go. I'll go back up and go to the first page, and if you want to address the glass part, the very last on structural improvement, there's a big "or" in capitalization, and it says for the safety of occupants and the general public. So that means a broken pane of plate glass, cracked and presenting imminent danger, could fall within that.
It could.
I think that in itself, it opens it up and allows it. And there's certain things, and especially for when it says safety, I think glass replacement, although it says other things within that paragraph, but I think if somebody came asking assistance for a replacement of a piece of glass which could fall out and injure somebody, wouldn't that be a concession that would be for consideration?
Well, I agree with you, Mr. Chairman, that certainly is a structural issue. So perhaps to resolve the problem here, we go to paragraph 3 and just remove the words window treatment. Because it doesn't need to be in both places.
And just leave it as painting, awning, and signage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I say scratch it, and there's another enough other things allowed there to show that allow for the improvement. So, is that a suggestion? Eliminate window treatments.
Yes.
I'll make that suggestion.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Basic requirements of TURA facade improvement program. I made no changes up until number 7, and I have found several more typos. I apologize. Number 7, if appropriate, and if we're suggesting that we delete if appropriate, a business license must be obtained by the owner or tenant, whichever is applicable, prior to completion of the project. And we're recommending take out the if appropriate because it's a commercial building, there is a business, and it must have a license, but not necessarily the owner is the one that will have the business license. It could be a tenant.
But does that then preclude buildings that are currently vacant from applying? Because if you don't have a business within the building, are you going to need a business license? How do you get a business license if there isn't a business?
They might be fixing it up to rent out to a business.
They might be doing it to improve their chances of renting it. They may not have a business currently in mind.
They might be improving it to sell it.
They might be improving it to sell it.
So appropriate can remain then.
Yeah, it's appropriate.
Yes.
That leaves it open enough to where you could the appropriateness, it doesn't have to be a must.
Yep.
Okay,
And
so
then
appropriate.
is the additional verbiage by the owner or tenant, whichever is applicable, acceptable?
And you know, Carol, we're not seeing that on it.
You're not seeing that on your
I'm
copy?
not.
Did you
Yeah.
get the second revision?
Yeah, but on that, if again, what we just talked about, if somebody's trying to fix up a building to attract a tenant, and by the time they, at the time of completion of the project, it may take some time for that building owner, after he fixes it up to make it look nice, to actually get somebody to come by and do it. So that could create a problem and a hardship.
And if appropriate, would not impact that?
I don't know how much ambiguity we want to put it. How much do we think the word appropriate can allow?
Well, let me ask this question. Do we not have ordinances requiring business licenses if it's appropriate anyway? So are we not just being redundant with that point?
Possibly.
Yes, why would we even need number 7 in there?
Yeah, well, we've had it, but this is a good time to reconsider it, whether we want to stay with it or take it away.
Right.
Suggestions? That's why we're here.
I don't see a need for it, given our current ordinances on business licenses. Because the city has gotten very aggressive, appropriately so, if I may throw that word in that sentence, to make sure businesses have licenses.
So that a consensus is that we would remove number 7?
I agree.
No.
Off with its head.
Okay, number 7 will go then.
Okay. Let's see. Next is number 10. Incentive is for commercial buildings within the TURA boundaries, which again probably needs a further explanation, in excess of 50 years old. And Fran and I recommend restricting it to commercial only, and I've already made that necessary change in the reference paragraph.
Right.
11, no change. 12, no change. 13 is brand new and came from Windsor. The incentive from TURA may not be used for soft costs such as architectural, structural, electrical, or mechanical design fees, construction site amenities, surveying and staking, traffic control, profit and overhead, any interior work, taxes, permits, or insurance.
Okay, that's good.
And then I put a little blurb in here that this is where we must decide if the incentive can be paid by shares of draws as construction occurs, or allow payment up front with condition of a signed contract that all liens are paid and funds went to contractors, or a lien will be placed on the building.
Well, something like that is necessary, because it's my thought that, in some instances, if you're going to offer an incentive in order to get the ball rolling, property owner or whoever it is that's going to undertake the project, the ability to be able to get it at least some of the cost to get the ball rolling could be an advantage. So instead of waiting for it to be payable at the end of the project, I'd like to see that we could structure something to, you know, a percentage up front, a request of, you know, no more than like 25% up front,
Right.
with maybe another 25 at the 50% of progress. That way it helps that owner. I mean, the intent of this is to assist the property owner. And so by allowing, you know, by us being a little bit objective in it and allowing, you know, some liberal payments at the beginning, you know, the assumption is it's going to be done. If it doesn't get done, then we have to do our corrective action. But I'd like to see something that allows it, you know, some portion of it on the front end.
I agree, especially in these tough times.
I like what you said about 25. I like the thought of 25% up front and then 25 at 50, and I like that idea.
Yeah. Do it in draws in stages, like they do in any construction project, which allows it to go forward, and it doesn't become a, you know, it doesn't become a stranglehold trying to get their money out there. You know, we're offering it, and we've got to offer it in a way that's as liberal as possible. So that, to me, that's, you know, I'd like to see it 25 at the beginning, 25 at mid stage. If they want to go late to the end, or you know, another 25 at 75%, so we can like to see it get out there to assist.
I agree.
I like that, and if we go with that change, then we will need to change paragraph 12. It currently reads, lien waivers from all contractors and subcontractors who worked on the project must be provided prior to any payment of the incentive fund. I think that needs to be changed to final payment of incentive.
Wait, just a minute. I have a question about that, though. Lien waivers from all contractors and subcontractors who worked on the project. I think if we're looking at, say, for instance, a building that needs electrical work or plumbing, then they are separate entities. So we need to specify that once the electrical work is, or it could be something simple that that the lien waivers take hold. To have lien waivers totally at the end of the project might be a little bit difficult, as some of these subcontractors might have gone on to other jobs.
I would say, if we're going to use that lien waiver is applicable to the project which we fund. It could be like you're just talking about, Fran. That could be too broad based and interpreted other ways. If we're going to have a lien waiver, which you know, it's do we need it or not? Because it is, once we fund it, and you know, the lien's going to be against the building. It doesn't concern us, you know, when at the very end. But if we're going to mention lien waiver, it'll be from contractors who work on that particular project, and it does say it in there. You know, I don't think that it would be, you know, it could pretty much stay as it is, because we worked on the project, and you know, as long as we maybe define that project as the facade renovation project, put a couple more words in there, we could leave it at that, and you know, and then again change that to the payment to the final draw.
If I may, I would like to place the burden of the verbiage for 12 and anything that deals with the draws, defer that to Fran to complete. I think she's much more knowledgeable about it than I am.
Commissioner Villani, are you willing to accept the burden?
I think I would do that. I mean, I have dealt with lien waivers with contractors and contractors before. I would, as long as everybody understands, I would be probably, as far as the verbiage, try to get it as tight as possible, so that it doesn't, so that everybody is on board, because it can be a problem. So yeah, I would work on it.
Thank you. And I'm quite certain that this will come up on our work session again next month. Ed, do you think that's probably correct?
Yes.
And then we can all discuss it at that time.
I'd like to be able to get a draft as soon as possible so we can have it ready. You know, it'd be nice to be able to adopt it next month, actually.
Okay. Okay. Well, I will make my changes and send them out. And Fran, if you want to do up your paragraph, I'll copy and paste that into the remainder of the document.
Yeah, number 12. Okay.
Make
Yeah,
one,
12.
one more suggestion for consideration. Would the board like to consider changing that 20% incentive to 25?
Yes.
Very muchly so.
Yes.
Okay, so 20% becomes 25%.
And that's why I put the current amounts in here, so that would prompt us to discuss it.
Yeah.
And do we still want to leave the maximum or aggregate funding for the entire program at $30,000 annually?
Yes.
You want to leave that there, okay?
Yeah. What happens out of this will be the barometer to determine whether we need to change it in the future. But I mean, this is basically going to, the funds are going to be expended on a first come first served basis. So, once we get to 30,000, and if it's successful, we might be able to change that as the years progress.
Okay. I think that concludes my presentation, unless someone else has more to add.
I have a question.
Yes,
I was
sir.
just looking at 6 property owners, and my copy says property owners must show.
I know. Another typo on my. Another typo.
That's okay. I am the king of typos, so I understand.
I mean, we wouldn't want to pick up mud.
My mud is probably like the money, but anyway.
That will be correct.
I was just lecturing today on the dangers of relying on spell check only, and that is a classic example, because mud is a word.
It is. So,
Anyway, I think this document is, I think we've come a long way on this document, and I want to commend the people involved in improving it. I was not really involved in the original design of it, so I've been biting my tongue and just sitting back, but I want to go ahead and say that there was a lot of very good work that went into this.
Right.
Thank you very much, and I know we are both very hopeful that we can come up with a strong document that doesn't need future revision other than maybe dollar amounts or something else.
Well, we thank you for the time and the efforts that you've put into it. And it's been a good discussion tonight as well.
And Fran, thank you for your time. And
You're welcome.
Okay, then, if there's no more to be...
Now, and I know that we were supposed to meet with Wally at some point in time over this, and it just got too close to the end to involve him. I apologize, Mr. Wallace.
Okay, let's move on to item number 3 then. In the past, we've talked that there are some duties that require things that have to happen from time to time, And again, we're not big enough and don't have enough things going on that we need a full-time director. But if you'll notice that in the contract for services that AIRS provided for us, they also mentioned in there that if there are other things we need, and specifically in the letter from Matt Ashby, it mentions in there, well, Mike would be the primary point of contact and primary staff professional. We would like also to make available our team of professionals with extensive experience in planning, landscape, architecture, and engineering on an as-needed basis. And we've included additional information on those services. Just wanted to mention that in the future, as again, I don't think we're in a position and won't be in a position for a while to be able to fund the position of an executive director. And as we continue on under the current status, as long as we can go, one of those options available to us is as we go, if we need consultation services, we can, if we have certain things that come up. I hope everybody, gives that consideration that we may be able to contact Ayers and Associates to pay on a fee for service as we proceed on.
I think that's a great suggestion.
Yeah, I'd say it would be great to have somebody sitting there setting all these things, all these different topics and matters up for us and doing, but at this particular point, again, we're not big enough, and we don't have a budget large enough to be able to fund that. So if we have situations where we have to, we're going to need those services, we can tap Ayers and Associates to be able to do a fee for service on an hourly basis. Okay, item number 4. Again, we have a vacant seat. I'm going to urge everybody, if you know anybody that would be willing to give some community service, to prompt them. I do know for a fact, and I heard it as late as this morning, the city of Trinidad has community service announcements out there, and it was on KCRT radio this morning, and it mentions several boards and commissions. We're vacant by one seat at this point, but there are other boards and commissions that are actually missing that many more. So, again, finding somebody out there that would be willing to do some community service. If you know of anybody, please mention it along, encourage them to apply for position.
I needed to ask something on that question. Is there any rules or anything about people being related, being on a board?
I can't readily answer that question. I don't know that there's anything that prohibits it. It's just, I don't know, I can find out. I can find out what the regulations are on it. I can look at the statute. I don't know that, it just says how you have to organize and have a board. But as far as locally, I don't know whether or not that there's a regulation or a stipulation that prohibits it, but I can find out.
Okay.
I don't believe there is.
I don't think so either, because it's according to state regulation, and I've looked at that statute quite a bit, and it just says there's got to be a board appointed, but it doesn't say really how how it limits any familial relationships. So I don't know. That in times like this, that might be some of the best ways we're going to get those resources.
Yeah.
Chairman Griego, this is Mike. I would have Les look into that. I mean, it might give an air of impropriety to the city. If we have like 3 family members on one board, then it doesn't bode well. So I will pass that on to our attorney and also look in the city's possibly ethics for boards and commissions. So try and get you an answer. We do need the volunteers, and we appreciate you guys stepping forward. And, yes, so let me do some research also.
Okay, Mike,
Thank
appreciate
you,
it. Okay, item number 5, items for future work session discussion. Does anybody have anything comes to mind at this time?
Definitely facade improvement.
Well, let's hope we can discuss it and take it to adoption very quickly.
I hope we can as well.
Yeah, yeah. We're like I say, we've got the funds coming in, and we don't have any programs to expend them on, and so we'd like to see that go out for the betterment of the community. Anything else anybody would like to bring up in work session before we move forward? If not, we will go to regular session. This is Thursday, September the 10th, 2020. It is 6:37 p.m. and we will convene the regular meeting of the Trinidad Urban Renewal Authority. Item number 1 is going to be the roll call.
Barak,
Present.
Bolton,
Here.
Leone, Lopez, Belani,
Here.
Grego.
Yes. Here, I'm sorry. Item number 2, approval of the minutes. The agenda packet was sent out late last week, and it was an advanced copy of the minutes from the last meeting held on August 13, 2020 were provided. I hope everybody had an opportunity to review and verify. Is there a motion?
I'd make a motion to approve the minutes of our last meeting as presented.
I'll second that.
Is there any other questions, comments? Are there any questions or comments? Roll call.
Barak,
Yes.
Bolton,
Yes.
Leone,
Yes.
Belani,
Yes.
Grego.
Yes. Item number 3 on the agenda this evening is the financial report. Acceptance of the financial report. As you can see, that there are now accounting for 2 separate accounts. One is the general operating account, in which all the funds from TIF from the Los Angeles County are deposited to. We have a second account which was started in the recent past to allow us to be able to pay for any projects that take place. And so what you're seeing on the numbers is a cumulative number of the two accounts that currently exist for Trinidad Urban Renewal Authority. Are there any, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Commissioner Bolton, motions, Lonnie second. Are there other questions or comments? Roll call.
Barak,
Yes.
Bolton,
Yes.
Leone,
Yes.
Belani,
Yes.
Grego.
Yes. Item number 4 is, I believe that there are not any bills presented for payment this month. Item number 5, petitions or communications oral or written. I am not aware of anything unless there's somebody in the viewing audience that is present this evening that would like to. There are not. Item number 6, old business. And I am not aware of any old business to be brought forward this evening. Item number 7 is new business. And that new business is going to be the approval to enter a contract with Ayers and Associates for the creation of the request for proposals for the land to be offered for sale, which we are commonly referring to, or as our program is, the Chestnut Cedar Street program. We had the presentation earlier this evening by Mike Scholl of Ayers and Associates, and there was an advanced copy of the proposed contract provided for everyone's review in the agenda packet. Is there a motion? Well, 2 things. That motion has to include 2 things: the acceptance and the authorization as me as the chairman to sign that contract to enter into and authorize the service. Is there a motion?
I'd make a motion that we approve the proposed contract with Ayers and Associates, and further move that we approve Mr. Griego or Chairman Griego to accept and authorize such contract.
I second that.
A motion by Commissioner Bolton with a second by Commissioner Leone. Are there any questions or comments? Roll call.
TURA,
No.
Bolton,
Yes.
Leone,
Yes.
Valani,
Yes.
Grego.
Yes. Item number 8, report by Executive Director, and there is not one. Item number 9, reports by commissioners. Is there any commissioners that would like to make any comments or bring forward anything to our attention this evening?
Commissioner Bolton, I have none.
Okay. Anybody else? I would like just to mention, and I'll ask, because we did discuss in the past, and I have had communication with DCI, Downtown Colorado Incorporated, and I did pass on, and I did, with prior authorization, Commissioner Leone, your email information that they could send you so that you can get to their resources, which includes trainings that are offered online. So I don't know if you got that or...
I have not received anything.
You haven't received it? Okay. I will get a hold of somebody at DCI because she indicated she would send you the email with your username and to be able to get in and be able to tap all those resources that are available. I'll check on that again. Anybody else? Item number 10, we move to adjournment. Is there any motion?
Move to adjourn.
Second?
I second it.
Motion and a second. If there are no further comments or dissenting votes, we will call this meeting adjourned at 2:44 p.m. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Good night.
This
Night.
conference is no longer being recorded.
Okay.